how important is it if you're bitten? I feel like you're probably not thinking that much about what the snake that bit you looked like. But if you're bitten by a venomous snake, how do medical practitioners determine what you've been bitten by to administer the right antivenom?
Yeah, sure. So there are specific antivenoms for certain types of snakes. So if the medical staff are certain of the type of snake, they can give you a specific antivenom. And I mean, a reasonable proportion of snake bites these days are of keepers, of private keepers who keep venomous snakes. This is very, very common now. Lots of people keep venomous snakes. Now, the advantage there is that those people know pretty much with 100% certainty what type of snake bit them. They can communicate that, and that's good. Whereas one of the challenges with almost all of the local snakes here in Victoria, the venomous ones, the larger ones, is that most of them are very variable in colour and pattern. And so unless you really know what you're talking about, your chances of identifying the snake with 100% certainty is not particularly high. And certainly, from a medical viewpoint, you wouldn't want someone to say, I was bitten by a brown snake, it was 1 metre long, and it was a brown snake, therefore give me brown snake antivenom, because a brown snake could be a brown snake, it could be a copperhead, it could be a tiger snake with no bands. And so you don't want those people getting the wrong antivenom. But fortunately, there's a couple of ways of dealing with it. The first is, well, I guess to go back one step, the other really important thing is that many bites that are defensive in nature are what we call dry bites, where the snake has not injected any venom. So the actual process of delivering venom is a conscious thing a snake does. I liken it to spitting, in the sense that they need to consciously decide to squeeze the muscles that squeeze on the venom gland and squirt that venom down through the ducts and through the fangs and into whatever they're biting. And so they don't always do that, particularly in defensive situations. Often the bite has no venom delivery, and sometimes there'll be little traces of venom on the skin, but none that have been systemically, introduced into the body. So it makes perfect sense, because the snake doesn't want to feed you with venom. The snake just wants to get away safely. So it's hoping the bite is enough to get you to take a step back so it can escape.
If they administered a bite with venom, if they administered venom via that bite,
yes,
what capacity do they have in those venom glands? Like, do they need to regenerate the venom in those glands, or does it vary from snake to snake how much capacity they have to hold venom?
So they can empty their venom glands, but often they don't need to and don't want to in any given bite. So they can meter it out, absolutely meter it out. So they can give you, a semi-dose or whatever. And again, I guess it's a bit like us. You could pretty gross, but you could spit yourself dry if you wanted to. It doesn't mean you'll never produce saliva again. Of course you will, but it might take a little bit of time for you to do that if you really went to that extreme. So in terms of what antivenom would be given, first of all, the medical staff are only going to give you the antivenom if you've received venom. So the first thing they want to do is test to see whether it's a dry bite, and they'll do that by looking at the symptoms and perhaps through blood tests. And they can also do swab tests on the skin, and the swab test will, through a reactivity test, can tell the medical staff what species or group of snakes they're dealing with, and they can target the antivenom based on that. But we also have really good, what are known as polyvalent antivenoms that will do a pretty good job of neutralising the bites of almost all the local snakes. So the medical staff have options. The first thing is to say, all right, well, is there venom in the system? And if the answer is no, then don't do anything, because anti-venom people can have reactions to, particularly allergic reactions, which is one of the reasons why, if you're going to get anti-venom, you want to get it in a hospital, not in the field, where any allergies, any reactions can be dealt with rapidly, because sometimes, the anaphylaxis sort of situation, the reaction can be fatal too. So don't give the medicine if it's not needed, and then if it is needed, make sure you're giving the right stuff or the polyvalent. And those antivenoms are pretty effective these days.